everyone, welcome back to the homestead. I know it's not officially spring yet, but it definitely feels like spring on the homestead for us, and the days are so full. We've got so many projects going on. It's been tiresome, but so joyful. I really enjoy this time of year. Somehow Esther and I managed to already fill all of our sprouting shelves in the greenhouse, and we're not even halfway done with our starts. So I don't know how we did without those new shelves that Nate just built for us in years past. Somehow we squeezed everything in. And it looks like even with the new shelving, we're going to be squeezing things in again. Every year we do grow a little bit more food on the homestead though, so I guess it's a good problem. What I'd like to talk about in today's video is actually our biggest gardening mistake that we have made to this point. We've been gardening in the Ozarks of Missouri here, Zone 6, for about 10 years, and I can't think of any other thing that we've done in our gardens that has been a bigger mistake than this. So I'll show you in a minute here. What I'm going to share today may not affect everyone. I know there's people watching this who probably garden in the city, or maybe you garden in an area that is not quite as jungly as our Missouri hills. We live in something that is almost as thick as what I'd imagine a rainforest to be. We get a lot of rain and there's just a lot of growth here. We also actually live on the edge of a creek side, and our garden is situated between pasture and wild creekside. So anyway, let me show you our biggest mistake, and then we're going to share in this video today some of the ways that we are hoping to fix this problem. Alright, so right over here is a very good example of our biggest mistake. We have a wooden raised bed here, and right behind this wooden raised bed is a fence. And as you can see, there is an elderberry here that's growing up in this fence line. There's more elderberry there. It's basically a nice little crack that we've created for weeds. And you cannot access this crack. It is just the perfect little weed haven all along the edge of our garden here. So unfortunately, this whole garden bed is pretty much a waste. We cannot keep up with the weed pressure. We can't even access some of these weeds. They're just stuck in between the raised bed and the fence line. It doesn't matter if we weed eat on the outside, the weed eater can't get to those weeds. We've got many different areas like this around the perimeter of our gardens. And I am just so tired of trying to battle the weeds and not being able to grow much of anything in these spaces, that this year we're going to start tackling this problem, making this video today, so that if any of you are in an area similar to what we are and you're building garden spaces, hopefully you won't make this same mistake. So we have that bed I just showed you. Here's Esther's garden in this corner. She's actually got weed pressure all along this fence line, and then the fence line turns here, and we have another raised bed with just a weedy jungle on the other side. And you can see again, there's these big old thick weeds just stuck in this crack and stuck in the fence line, and almost impossible to manage. And on around it goes. This whole bed is just a constant weedy nightmare. There's weeds coming up in between the raised bed and the fence line. Then over here we've actually got our turkey yard, and it's much better than the other beds because the turkeys help keep everything clean. You can see even in between the raised bed and the fence line here, this huge gap is still clean. The turkeys do a fantastic job keeping this side clean. So that would be the first solution to this problem. If you have birds, chickens, turkeys, those are probably the best ones that you can put on the opposite side of a garden fence line like this. It can work, and the birds can help keep it clear of weeds for you. So over here we actually have ducks in this yard and a few random chickens, but this used to just be chickens. And here's an example of where it doesn't work so well. There is like a 6+ inch gap here between the raised bed and the chicken fence line, and they just could not get in here. So if you're gonna do a garden bed like this, I would recommend putting the fence actually up off the ground and really tight next to the garden bed. That way the birds can get right up close to the garden bed and help keep those weeds at bay. Here's another garden bed, the same problem. Got just this perfect little environment here between the wood raised bed and the fence line for weeds to grow. And we have tried burning along this edge. That's just not good for the longevity of the fence. And I think just burning over and over again is not good for the life of the fence here. So this garden bed is going to be going out. And our second solution to this problem is to actually leave a pathway between the raised bed and the fence line. So we're going to be redoing these raised beds here and leaving space between the fence and the raised bed so we can have access to the whole fence line and actually make it possible for us to get to the weeds to tackle them and hopefully manage them better. And then we plan to go even a step further and put vinyl down underneath the entire fence line, leaving about 2 feet on either side of the fence of vinyl, and then we'll cover that with pea gravel. And we found that this heavy-duty vinyl that we were just given years ago has been such a blessing. It's really thick. We don't normally like putting plastic in the garden, but this is really hardy stuff and we don't mind using it in pathways if necessary. And I would say this is a necessity for sure. Little by little, we're going to be redoing these fence lines and leaving more space in between the grow beds and the fence line, putting vinyl underneath the fence and pea gravel on either side to create that buffer from the weeds. And then we'll still have to use weed eaters to go along and get rid of the weeds just past the pea gravel. There will be weeds that grow in the pea gravel, but they won't be able to take root because of the vinyl beneath. So that's our second solution to the problem. And then the third option is one that we had hoped to do, and it's just going to be way too expensive. So I don't know if we'll ever get to this, but I pictured doing actual cement pathways along all the edges of the gardens and putting the fences up on top of the cement pathways. So it would just be a permanent weed barrier and never have to weed that area again, basically. But cement is very expensive, so we're going to use what we have, which is vinyl and pea gravel, and do as much as we can before the growing season really takes off here in Missouri. Nate's over here working on cleaning up our apple tree prunings. You've got some ideas for how you want to use some of these prunings, huh, Nate?
Yep.
What are you hoping to do?
I might want to try using them somehow to make furniture.
Yeah, sort of like a wicker woven furniture of some sort.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched a video of somebody using like apple tree prunings for that?
Actually, I haven't, so it's gonna be new for me. We'll see.
A new experiment, yep. He's got lots of ideas for furniture, huh?
Yeah. I think it's hard as it's a little thick at the bottom. Still.
Those are all of our apple tree suckers that we cut off every year. We're still learning how to prune apple trees correctly so we don't get as many suckers.
Yeah.
But if you can use the suckers to build something, then I guess it's worth it.
Yeah.
Got a really cool branch here cut off from the apple tree. What are you thinking of doing with that, Nate?
Might want to make like a big old gate handle out of it or something. We'll see.
Yeah, it does look like could work as a gate handle.
Or something.
That'd be fun. You guys have been having a lot of fun just finding stuff around the homestead and thinking of ways to use it, huh?
Yep. Applewood handle.
Fun. Well, Nate, do you think you want to start burning some brush, making way for moving a fence line for the garden?
Yep.
This is the corner we plan to start with over here because it's been the most maintenance for us. We're hoping to kind of pile up all this brush here and burn it. This corner here, we're going to bump out the opposite direction, and hopefully this will become more space for Esther to grow her veggies. And then next we'll bump out this whole back fence line here along Esther's garden and leave about a 2-foot walkway in between the garden space and the fence line. This is not going to be a really easy thing to do. It's actually something that we've kind of been putting off for years now, not because we wanted to put it off, just we didn't have the time. But I really want to make time for it this year, and I'm hoping that we'll gain that time back in the summertime, not having to do so much weed maintenance in these spaces. So it's going to be a process, and we have so many other projects and things we're working on. So we'll see how far we get, but we're at least going to start the process of fixing these problem areas. And I so encourage you to think about these sort of things if you're setting up a garden for the first time. Edges are really important. Sometimes we just kind of forget about the edges because we want to focus on what's inside and what we're growing, but those edges can become such a problem if not set up in a way that's easy to maintain. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, there's so many beautiful bird noises right now. It's really fun. Here we are, step one in solving this problem. Gotta clear this whole area so we can move the fence line, huh? So what have you got there, Josh?
Blowtorch and a blower.
Right, we're gonna try and pile it all up a little bit in the center and set it on fire. Safely. We've got a creek just a few feet away, and we'll have buckets ready. Esther's over here rescuing some onions. We tossed some of our walking onion tops out here, and they grew. And for some reason, there's none coming up in the garden anymore. I don't know what happened, so we'll transplant these back into the garden.
Right where I am is about the relative corner.
Here's some pretty little wild violets we might need to save as well. We have an escapee tulip as well. Somehow it made its way underneath the garden bed. You're saving that too, huh?
I'm gonna try to.
Yeah!
Other things in the way. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
There's so much out here. These weeds got easily 10 feet tall and would just tower over our fence line and drop their seeds. J-Bud, where's your shoes?
I didn't bring any.
You gotta have shoes, buddy. People complain about our children not wearing shoes. You should probably get some shoes on, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is probably not a barefoot project.
Not so much. We'll see if it burns or not. Got rain coming, so I wanted to try and get this done before the rain starts.
Also, the thing is,
You can tell this is where we tossed our rocks out of the garden. Big old rock pile. We're gonna have to push those downhill to be the walkway on the lower end of the new space here. Good work, Nadie.
thanks.
Well guys, we're gonna continue to clear our garden edge jungle here in preparation for moving our fence line back a little bit. If any of you guys have another idea for us on how to make a more manageable, maintenance-free garden edge, please leave it in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining us on the homestead again today. Before we go, Abby has a quick thank you to give.
Thank you, Melissa, for this pretty dress and this pretty sweater.
And thank you as always to our patrons who make these videos possible. Until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours. And whatever you do, do it with your whole heart. They smell good, girls.